Hello, Evan. You are up next, sir.
Hey Bart, how are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
This is a game at the Peppermill in Reno. It's got the single $5 blind with a mandatory $10 winner straddle. And the configuration's kind of odd. It's five-handed, it's short, but me and the villain are very deep. I'm the effective stack at 3,160, and I think the other three people have like 500, so it's kind of a strange setup. So,
So
uh,
it's 0-5, but with a $10 straddle, right?
yes,
And you're
minimum.
and you're playing with five-handed. Is that right? And you're playing five-handed. Okay. Interesting.
So the main villain, he won the last hand, so he has the straddle, and he straddles for 20. So it's just a $10 minimum, but you can straddle more.
Okay.
And he's on the button.
So
I'm
this
on
is
the
in essence a button straddle to 20. Is that right?
yes.
Or just an any place straddle?
It's a button straddle.
Okay.
So I have black pocket jacks, and I'm under the gun,
Okay.
and I open for 60.
And again, you're 3160 effective, right?
Yeah,
So you're under the gun, so it doesn't go like to the small blind first. It goes under the gun.
yeah, it's always under the gun.
Okay. All right. So here are Jackson. How much do you make it?
60.
60. So 3x. Okay.
So action folds back to the button, and he makes it 360.
So Button, who is closing the action, right?
No, there's still the blind after him to act.
Okay. Okay. All right. So he makes it 360. So he's just, a little bit incentivized to drive the blinds out. I mean, the reason why I keep saying this, I'm in the California mindset where it would go in order and the button would act last here because the blinds would move first. And then I was like, well, this is even a little bit more polar because he doesn't have to drive anybody else out if he's heads up. But here, the blinds are still in there. So he goes to 360. Okay.
Yeah, which to me is kind of on the larger side. But the blind folds, it comes back to me, and I think I don't know. I guess I'm out of position. I feel comfortable just calling and kind of even maybe feeling like I'm in set mining mode. So that's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, heads up. I mean, I think that even five-handed, I think that that's relatively standard. I mean, you're 150 BBs deep with the straddle. Even five-hand, I mean, it seems like a little much to pile in here. And four-bet folding for value a hand, it's almost like turning it into a bluff, but sometimes there are situations where you actually can re-raise fold for value pre-flop. I think that concept is lost on a lot of people where, if you're in a situation where you will get called by worse, but only raised by better, that is a raise fold for value pre-flop. But I mean, I would call here too. Okay.
Flop comes king of clubs, queen of hearts, 10 of clubs.
So king of clubs, queen of hearts, 10 of clubs, hero with jack of clubs, jack of spades. So you're open-ended here, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So I check. And then to me, this is the most important part of the hand. He checks back.
He checks back. Okay. I mean, that's not, I mean, I don't, that isn't so crazy that he might actually have like aces or ace king.
Well,
It's not
right.
like, it's not like it's not a great board for those hands. Now, probably most sets would bet, but I'm just saying,
Yeah, exactly. To me, it kind of caps his range, I guess. Like, I just feel like anything like top, to me, it screams like I'd want to get to showdown. It's like kind of a face up. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's the way I interpreted it at the time. It was something I really paid attention to.
And you've got blockers. I can kind of sense what's going on here.
Yeah, exactly. Because, right, unless he flopped the nuts, but very unlikely since I have two jacks.
Right. And you have the jack. I mean, sometimes you'll see somebody just, slow play the ultimate nuts, right? Which is the ace jack of clubs, but you've got the jack of clubs too.
Yeah. So turns four spades. I check again, and he bets 300.
So four spades on the turn for king of clubs, queen of hearts, 10 of clubs, four spades. And hero checks, and he bets 300.
Yeah. And I just call. I guess I could raise here, but I just feel fine calling here.
Well, I mean, you're getting almost 4-1 here, right?
Right.
On a call.
Right.
I mean, it would be doubtful as played if your jack outs are good here, but you're open ended for 8 outs. Getting 4-1, you probably need about 4.5-1. It's kind of interesting because probably the chances are you're not good here. So
Yes.
if you just want to take your equity, take your equity. So the pot's 1350. Okay.
Yeah. So the river comes the 8 of clubs.
Okay.
So I guess the obvious flush draw comes in. I check, and he bets about a little under half pot. He bets 600.
So button bets 600. And just by the way, because I think something might be coming here, just looking at stack sizes, it looks like you guys have maybe he's got 19 to 2,000 back, right? After the 600.
He's got, I think, more than that, because I think I have a remaining. I'm the effective stack, and I have like 2,500
Right,
left.
but after you put the call in, you'd have like 19 back. He bets 6. There's
You're
19
right.
back,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, for me.
Now, because you have to look at that, like if you're thinking about doing something here. Well, obviously, I mean, we can't call probably, right?
Yeah. There's no way I'm good if I call. And I mean, the only thing I could think of, like, I just don't. Could he have ace queen of clubs? I just don't see how he checks the flop with that. So yeah, I think about it for 30 seconds, and I think the move is to jam. So I go all in for 2,500 for a variety of reasons. I have blockers to a lot of strong hands. It just feels like a really under bluff spot too, and I think he's pretty capped at best to like an overpair or top pair. And I'm fairly certain this will be a really uncomfortable spot for him.
So my only question here, just a couple of things going on here. So number one, would you ever take this line with ace jack without, first of all, you're really only going to have ace jack suited here, I assume, for the most part, right?
Yeah, as far as I'm repping.
I mean even defending to the 3-bet pre-flop, right? 60 to 360.
Sure. Ace jack suited.
Right.
I could have, I think I could even flat that with queens maybe.
Well, my question though is that, like, would you really take this line with ace jack suited that's not a flush? Now there's obviously only 3 ace jack suiteds that aren't flushes, or any other hand that's not a flush. I mean, that would be my question here.
I think so. The more I thought about this, the more I thought was important is not necessarily what I had, even though I had important blockers, but kind of his play and what he did on the flop.
Well, right. But I mean, if you are, I mean, it really depends on how involved this guy is, but how into studying and how good a player he is. But, I think that as some of these poker terms and just the fact that we're even talking this through, the fact that you sort of have sussed out yourself that he is sort of capped by the way that he plays it. If he realizes that he is capped by the way that he has played it, then if I put myself in his spot, I'm starting to, this is why I asked you the question, would you play ace jack this way? Would you play pocket queens this way? And if I'm your opponent and don't think that you would play those hands in this manner, and I have the ace of clubs in my hand, then you are repping an extremely thin range that is like maybe queen jack of clubs here, something like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's pretty polarized, but I also think if I had a set, I might think of doing the same thing, because I just think it's pretty unlikely he has a set or a flush in that spot.
You think you're going to check jam really when the club comes here with a set?
I mean, I guess if I have
remember, it's not just, here's the thing. It's not just the river in a vacuum.
Right.
It's the entire hand played after it goes check check on the flop, right? So if you had a set or a straight and it was played this way, you would have to only check call the turn after it went check check, and then check the river hoping that he bets so that you could jam, which is even dicey too. So that's the whole thing of putting the whole thing together. That's why if I'm your opponent, it just seems odd to me. And also too, if your opponent does have some like ace 4 of clubs, ace 6 of clubs, ace 7 of clubs types of holdings, those actually are not always bet. on the flop, even though it's a combo draw. They're not always bet. You can actually take, that's a really good hand to take like a delayed line, because, you know, if you've got like sevens or eights, you're just going to fold the turn off anyways. Now, it's debatable how often it's checked back, but I'm just saying that he sometimes can have a flush here, or if he had like 5-6 of clubs, something like that, right? I mean, that might even be a better example of a check back. So those would be the things that I would be thinking about of your opponent. And if I can say, oh, I don't think this guy has a straight or a set the way that this was played to the river. If I have the ace of clubs here, this guy might be making a move on me. Now, the river's under bluffed live. Does that even matter? We can go to, if I'm your opponent, does it matter? Like, are you capable, not you personally, but is this guy capable of turning something into a bluff? Those would be the things that I would be thinking about here.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point why I called, because I did think about it after, and it's kind of like, would I really slow play a set that way? And maybe I wouldn't. I mean, again, I feel like ace 9 of clubs, I think, is the top of what he could have suited, which I guess he could 3-bet, or I don't have a lot of information on him. But yeah, those are all pretty fair points.
I also question too how thin he's going at the end here. With what you think, like, is he betting ace queen? Is he betting ace king and aces always when the club comes at the end? By the way, if he has a club in his hand, those all should be bets for sure. Like if he has aces with the ace of clubs, those should be bets if they're close. But okay, so you jam again. I just think it's a little bit. You know, if the guy is just playing off his own hand and if he's at that level, sure, maybe it would work. But if we go down what I just said, it can look a little bit bluffy. What ended up happening?
Yeah, so he tanks for a very painful 2 minutes, a really long tank, and talks to me a little and laughs and says, oh, I was just going for value. You know, do you have tens? He's trying to talk to me. And then finally he folds ace king face up.
And did he have a club?
No.
Okay, so button, fold, ace king, face up. Well, he ended up not having the ace of clubs there. Again, I do think it's a little bit dicey. I mean, you are risking 25 to win 19 here in terms of an MDF spot, right? Because when you bet 6 into 1350, the pot's 19. You're basically putting in 25 to win 19. I mean, I think we can all agree that it can probably never be a call. So does it get through here 60 to 65% of the time if he's never calling with just the ace when he doesn't have the club? You know, who knows? Someone said in the live chat, what if he's turning ace queen with the ace of clubs into a bluff? I don't think that hand ever needs to be bet by the opponent on the river the way that this hand is played out. Why wouldn't he just check it back at the end? Just because our opponent check calls the turn doesn't mean that ace queen isn't ahead at the end, right?
Right.
So interesting, but I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.